Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm very excited for the program that Amy's going to put forward for us. This is Amy Traw. She's a professional organizer. I've already booked her to come to my house. No, I'm just kidding. But anyhow, so I hope you all enjoy. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat and we'll make sure that she gets to those, and everybody sit back and enjoy. Thanks, Amy.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone so much for joining me on this beautiful March evening. How about this weather? I'm so excited that spring is almost here.
Right.
Well, it is here now. So, it's just nice to see finally. As Vicki stated, my name is Amy Traw. I am privileged to speak with you this evening about one of my favorite topics, home organization. So as Vicki stated, I'm a professional organizer who specializes in functional organizing solutions for busy lives. I help create time and space for what matters most. I was born and raised here in Canton, Ohio, and I still live here. I'm a mom of two and live in Canton. So a little backstory on me. I always thought I was an organized person, and then I had kids. And I thought I had it together. I had the pretty containers, I had the organizing systems, but when it came down to it, I was making a huge mistake that I see others making time and time again when they're organizing. So I'll give you a little bit more on that later. I did pretty good with baby one, and then baby two came into the world, and I just noticed I just started to feel burdened, just so much overwhelmed with all this stuff. And no one ever prepared me for how much stuff babies come with and how much stuff we think we need for babies, because they're these little people. They really don't need much, but we think they do. So I knew there had to be a better way. I was stressed out. I was overwhelmed. So I read a ton. I researched as much as I could, and then I got to work. And the results were awesome. I started searching less for things around my house. I knew right where things were. I had more time because I wasn't constantly searching for those things, and I had more space. And I can't wait to share with you all what I have learned this evening. And so a little overview of the presentation. We're going to just be talking about clutter in general. What is clutter? The clutter cycle, cost of clutters, and situational disorganization versus hoarding, because there is a difference. We'll also discuss why. Why should you declutter? What are the benefits? How is decluttering different from organizing? We'll then discuss how to organize using a concept I call space, maintaining your space, and common challenges. And then at the end, we'll leave some time for Q&A. So please, if you do have any questions about anything we're discussing, pop it over in the chat and I am happy to answer them. So let's talk clutter. So according to the dictionary, clutter is a crowded or confused mass or collection. I like to take it a step further and consider clutter anything that's not serving a purpose in life today, anything unfinished, or anything that you do not use, love, or need. So anything not serving a purpose. So those are those just in case items. That's, I'm going to save every Cool Whip container I have just in case I need it. Nothing wrong with that, but it does pile up. Next thing, anything unfinished. So that's all those projects that, one day I'm going to get to this sewing thing. One day I'm going to go back to my painting hobby. One day this, one day that. And a lot of times that one day never comes. And then finally, anything that you don't use, love, or need. So this is those sentimental items. This is where it gets a little bit hard because we have this emotional attachment to it. Also included in this are doubles. So if you have, 10 blank notebooks and yet you haven't used a notebook in 30 years. Excess items, things that you just don't use on a regular basis. And these things start to slowly increase the physical and emotional burden on us because we're constantly having to move them around. We're having to search through things when we're getting to the other. So it really starts to burden us. So how did we get here? How did we end up with all this clutter in our lives? Well, first one, a huge one, is life changes. So loss of a loved one, moving, downsizing, marriage, divorce, birth, adoption. Life changes are hard and they tend to cause a lot of clutter to accumulate. It's stressful enough. So then we have this emotional attachment on top of it. And that's the last thing we're thinking about is our stuff because we're just already so overwhelmed by everything, which leads us into overwhelm. So we have all this stuff. So we start to defer decisions. We can't decide where something belongs. We don't know where to start. And, we've been in our homes for a while. So things start to accumulate eventually. And then the last one, mindset of possessions equals happiness. How often are we taught by society that in order to be happy, you need a bigger house, you need a better car. If you buy this product, it's going to make you happy. If you buy this for your kids, that will make them happy. It's constantly thrust upon us through social media, keeping up with the Joneses, and just this constant striving for more. I think this picture perfectly describes how clutter starts to feed into this whole anxiety depression cycle. So, what happens is we start to feel overwhelmed. The clutter starts to build. We feel anxious. So, the anxious leads us to more feelings of overwhelmed and sometimes can even lead to feelings of depression. And these are very real feelings. So, we start to feel down. And because we're feeling down, we're overwhelmed. And that overwhelm causes us to feel unmotivated. So what happens is the clutter keeps piling up. So the clutter keeps piling up, and then we get more anxiety and stress because we don't know where to even start. So we're cleaning up less. So the clutter is piling up more and more, and it just becomes overwhelming. So as you can see, it's just this cycle that just keeps going on. And you just feel so overwhelmed that you don't even know where to start. So you don't start. So, what does clutter cost us? It costs us time. It costs us a lot of searching through the house for the kids' shoes, searching for our keys in the morning or our work badge that we know we set it down somewhere, but we can't remember where. And a lot of times we're spending then more time cleaning up our homes. So say we are having company over, we're having a birthday party, and these things don't happen as much anymore with the COVID world we're living in, but we tend to then spend more time cleaning. I read a statistic once that said that by decluttering, you can cut your cleaning time down by 40%. When I read that statistics, I'm like, I am all in. And you know what? It's really true. I have two kids and it really has made a huge difference. My house is not always perfect, but when it comes time to clean up, we can do that in an efficient manner. The next cost of clutter is space. Your home is not a storage facility. Use it as it's intended. You want your home to feel good when you enter it. You don't want to walk in and think, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff. It becomes overwhelming and it overloads our brain because it's this constant reminder of, oh yeah, I had that project that I never finished. Oh yeah, this needs done, that needs done. And just it feeds more into that. And it can actually lead to accidents and safety issues too. If you're having these piles of clutter that you're trying to move around, it could lead to a trip and a fall, which could be devastating. The next cost of clutter is overwhelm and frustration. We had just talked upon that or touched upon this, and that just really does weigh us down mentally and physically and increases that stress, anxiety, depression, feelings of isolation, and then distraction. They've done studies that 45% of people forget what they're doing prior to a distraction, and 25% of the time we don't actually return to the task at hand. So it really does help us focus when there's not as much clutter distracting us. And lastly, money. We save the clutter because of clutter, it can contribute to late fees. We can miss tax write-offs because we're missing receipts. It can cost us more in moving expenses because there's more stuff to move, so it's going to take them longer. And then duplicate purchases. I can't tell you how many times we've found different things and people are like, I didn't know I had 8 Pyrex glass dishes. I only ever use this one. So it's kind of crazy once you think about it, what you can find. All right. So, what's the difference between disorganization and hoarding? So, hoarding is just the continual accumulation of items that are considered useless or worthless by others, accompanied by an inability to discard the items without great distress. So, key indicators of this are just excessive acquiring of items that you don't need or for which there's no space in the home, persistent difficulty throwing out or parting with your things regardless of actual value. So that's, I'm keeping every single paper that my child has ever brought home from school, and I have banker's boxes full of them. Um, Another one would be feeling a need to save these items and really getting emotionally distraught and upset when you even think about discarding them. And then finally, another key indicator of a hoarding disorder is building up of clutter to the point where rooms become unusable. You can't sit on the couch because it's so piled up with things. And it does create safety issues. Whereas situational disorganization, that's life changes. That's, birth, marriage, adoption, divorce, loss of a loved one. And these things, they can result in disorganization. So, why should we declutter? What are some of the benefits? My favorite is less stress. So, because you've taken the time to declutter, you improve your relationship. You're not ashamed to have people over at the drop of a hat. You gain that control of your time and your surroundings. You have less guilt because those projects that are unfinished aren't constantly staring you in the face. There's less frustration because you're not constantly searching for lost things. And you're breaking that cycle of more. By decluttering, you can gain energy. We touched upon cleaning is 40% faster, and it's true. I have experienced this. More time. So again, less searching equals more time, improved productivity and focus. They have done studies that show the average American spends 2 weeks out of every year searching for things. My jaw about hit the floor when I heard that. I'm like, 2 weeks, that is crazy. Next, more space. So by decluttering, we're creating more room for what you have. You can use your space as you intend to. You can park your car in the garage because it's not overflowing with things you don't use. Another statistic I read was 80% of those just in case papers that we use we never actually use. So it's important that you don't just go through and throw everything out. It's important to keep, certain tax papers for lengths of time and always consult before you get rid of things. But a lot of those papers, even product manuals now, most things are available online. So I always tell people double check before you throw it away, but a lot of that is accessible. Saving money. 23% of us pay late fees because we have simply forgotten about a bill, lost track of a bill, and then we're paying money in replacement costs and we're missing those tax deductions. And then another huge benefit is decreased burden on your family. So, when your mom and dad are ready to downsize or move to a nursing home and the kids are left with 50 years of possessions to sort through, it can take some time and be a burden. So it's a less burden on the family by taking the time now to go through what you have and tell the kids, okay, what is of value, what is a family heirloom. And we've actually started doing this with my grandmother, and having her write out, okay, what is important? What do you want us to keep when you do eventually move on? So again, why declutter? So what's the difference between organizing and decluttering? So this is circling back to my introduction, storage solutions and the problem with them. And I got caught in this trap myself. So storage solutions. So we're talking bins, containers, all those cute little things you see on TV. They tend to cause stuff shifting. So you're moving things from one place into a container, hiding it away, but you're not really addressing the issue. You're having the same problems and you're wasting space because, yes, you have this pretty container, things are hidden, but you really don't know what's in that container. And when it comes time to find things, then you're having to search through the container for what you're looking for. So this isn't to say that storage is a bad thing. No, it's okay when you define what you're going to put in here. Okay, this container is going to have all my sunscreen. So I'm not going to have sunscreen in every single room of my house. Um, because a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this too, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So by being intentional about what you want to keep and defining that space, you're preventing things from turning into a dumping ground. Even, I see time and time again too, how often do you see exercise equipment or a piece of furniture in a bedroom that's become, a storage area? You're just throwing the clothes on there because it's convenient. So I have definitely been here, but it makes a huge difference. So how do you get organized? How do you start to create all these benefits that we talked about? So I like to use the acronym SPACE. So we'll go through this step by step. The first step, we're going to sort and group, and then we're going to pare it down. We're going to assign a home, contain it, and then eliminate the excess. All right, so let's start with sort and group. So from here, if you can't tell, I'm big on the acronyms. I like to put things into 4 different groups, and I use STOP as my acronym. So I have a sell or donate pile, a pile of things that, it's trash, I'm going to throw it away. O are items that I want to organize then within the space. And then P are things that I need to put away in the proper home. So if I'm, going through my kitchen cabinets and I find office supplies that I never use in the kitchen that belong in the office, okay, I'm going to put that in the pile so I can put those things away. So the next one in the SPACE acronym is pare it down. So this is the actual decluttering process. So I always tell people, start with the obvious. So when you're entering a room, look around. What obvious things do you see that are easy to get rid of? Are there just scraps of paper that you don't need? Is there something that is broken? Are there things that don't belong in the room? And then I like to start asking myself, as I go through items, okay, do I actually use this item? If I use it, sure, I'll keep it. Would I buy it again? Does it serve a purpose? Does it work or is it broken? If it's broken, either I'm going to fix it or I'm going to get rid of it. Can it easily be replaced? So a lot of times, and I myself was guilty of this, I would save every single list pad that I ever got, every single thing of address labels that every place that I've made a donation to sends to me. And I would end up with this gigantic stack of return address labels that I'm never going to use all of those. And part of me would always feel guilty getting rid of those. But then it's like, well, is it worth, moving everything around and keeping, 5,000 return address labels? And so once you get past that, it gets much easier. And then, when it comes to clothes, does it fit? I can't tell you how many times I have clients that, okay, well, maybe one day I'll get into this. Well, you know what? It's okay to let it go because you're constantly seeing that reminder that if you're not getting into that perfect size, that can be frustrating day in and day out seeing that. But then if you do meet your goal and lose that weight, what a great way to reward yourself to get some new outfits. All right, so the next one is assign a home. So I'm a big advocate of storing things where you use them. So for me, when I bring my mail in, I sort it out in my kitchen. I hated going to my office to file things then. So I actually I have a small file cabinet and It's portable, and I just have it in one of my kitchen cupboards so that when the mail comes in, I sort through it all. Okay, whatever's junk and I want to recycle, I put that in a pile. I put the shred stuff in my little shred bin, and then I file whatever needs filed. Easy access is essential, or else things just start to build up again. I always like to ask myself, well, where would I look for this? With my kids in their school. Okay, so they come home from school, they need to do their homework. Where is it logical for me to have the homework supplies? Is it logical for me to have the homework supplies, you know, in their bedrooms? For us, no. My kids like to do their homework at the kitchen table. So I have it stored by the kitchen table. And then also, put like items with like. So this goes back to the whole don't have sunscreen in every single room of the house. Put those items together, and that lets you know how many of a certain item you have. So a lot of times things will start to accumulate, and we don't even realize how many we have of an item. So this just makes it easy to see what you do have. The next is contain. So this is the fun part. This is where all those fun bins and labels come in, but function's key. So make it easy to maintain. It's very easy to get caught in the trap of fancy versus function. You go on Pinterest, you see all these beautifully decanted containers and things in pantries, and it's all color coded. That's fine and dandy, but if you don't have the energy to keep up with it, it's not going to work for you. And that's okay. Function should trump fancy every day. I myself, I do not have every single thing in my pantry decanted. I, I just don't have the time when I get home from the grocery store or the energy to put it all in containers. But if that's what you enjoy doing, go for it. Um, Make it easy to maintain though, and do what works for you. And then also use what you have. It's amazing when you start to go through things and declutter what you'll find that you can organize with. And then another tip that I have is use that container to determine how much to keep. So say cleaning supplies or something that tends to multiply very quickly. I have a bin of cleaning supplies underneath my kitchen sink, and that's my limit. The container is the limit. So I don't go buying a new cleaning product just because it smelled great at the store when I don't have the room for it within that container. All right, so let's move on to eliminate. So after you get everything organized, you have these things that you need to get rid of. So I really want you to consider time versus money. We all like to get a little something for things. We think everything has worth, but definitely consider the investment of time versus the money you're going to get it. eBay is a great resource to use if you're trying to figure out, okay, I think this is worth something, but I'm not really sure. A lot of the collectibles and different things, use that as a guide. And that way you can kind of figure out, does this have value or is this just a value to me? Another great resource is the Time to Recycle website. It's a consortium of Stark County, Tuscarawas County, and I forget which the other county is, but they actually have a little tool on their website, and you can enter any product in. Can I recycle? And then type it in. And they'll tell you where you can dispose of certain items. So like computers and TVs, some of those really odd, peculiar items that that you really shouldn't throw away in the trash, but there is a great resource out there. Another great resource around here is Best Buy now accepts electronic donations. So they will recycle those for free. I think technically that's limited to 3 items per household per day. So if you don't see an upcoming electronic um, recycling event within the county, Best Buy is always accepting those. Um, Another thing, once you have gone through and decluttered, take out the trash, get it out, put the donations in the car. That way we're not running into, all right, I did all this, but now there sits the donations for another month. That just leads into more of the delayed decisions and, okay, something else is staring me in the face that I need to do and just can't get done. So when you're in the mood, just get in the car so you can get it out right away. So what are some common challenges, barriers when organizing? I think the biggest one for most people is time. Um, Life is busy. It's just always crazy. So I still schedule myself time on my calendar to just pare things down, go through the kids' clothes. What are they wearing? What are they not? What fits? What doesn't? I even have a box for donations in each bedroom. And so that if I pull something out of my closet, I'm like, you know what? I just don't like how this fits anymore. I do not like it. I'll put it in the box. Same thing. My kids outgrow a piece of clothes. They put it on and it's suddenly, this midriff shirt. And it's like, well, it's time to go in the box. So just doing little steps like that, break it up into bite-sized pieces because it can be very overwhelming. But if you break those big tasks down, okay, I'm going to go through one drawer in my kitchen today. A lot of us can manage that. We can take the 5 to 10 minutes to tackle one drawer versus, okay, I'm going to do the whole kitchen. Well, that can be exhausting. Um, so I always tell people, by doing these little things, you're starting to get control. You're taking care of your surroundings versus letting your surroundings control you. So this is ultimately a form of self-care, which we all hear so much about that we need to do more of. So this is, what better way of self-care by taking control of your environment. So yeah, just start small because unfortunately organizing, it's just not an HGTV 1 hour and done special. It's ongoing, it's regular, but break it down into those manageable tasks and it'll be much, much easier. The next common challenge is money. Use what you have. Even the dollar store has great organizing bins. You can find lots of cheap ideas on Pinterest of ideas of different dollar store tricks and hacks. But yeah, use what you have. You'll be surprised what you can find laying around your house. And lastly, emotions. Do not start with sentimental items first. So when you are going to you decide, okay, this is it. I'm excited. I'm ready to organize. Please do not go through sentimental items first. Those are the last thing you should go through. It's hard. It's emotional. One of the best things you can do is ask a family member or a friend to help. Getting that objective opinion, getting that outside help really does help get you through because it's emotionally draining at times. I love to tell my clients take pictures of some of these sentimental items. Like my kids bring so much home from school and I wish I could keep it all. I do, but practically I know that's not an option. So what I do is with my kids' artwork, I take pictures. And then at the end of the year, they're always sending out different Snapfish and Shutterfly coupon codes for free photo books. So at the end of the school year, I just make a little photo book and most of the time you just have to pay for shipping. So those are always, that's a nice, easy idea. Or, ask different family members, hey, do you have a desire? This has been sitting in my basement. Would you want to use this? Do you have anywhere you could display this? And then, those feelings of guilt set in. So, your things are not your memories. And that's hard to keep in mind, but essential. And then just display them. Display those sentimental items. Don't store them away. Show them off. All right, so let's get into maintaining your space. Habits are key, and it's those little habits that can make the biggest changes. So I know it sounds simple, but if you open it, you got to shut it. If you get it out, you put it back. One of my favorite things for kids is to use picture labels, especially for kids that can't read yet. So, by showing them, okay, this is the bin that the Legos go in. This is the bin that the dolls go in, and put a picture of a doll on it, because if your child can't read yet, they're going to have a really hard time with that, and make it accessible. We had a coat rack downstairs when you enter our home, and the kids' coats would always end up on the floor. And it's like, well, why are the kids' coats on the floor? Well, the kids couldn't reach the hook. So how could I expect them to, hang their jackets up? So 3M, just command hooks. Work wonders, boom, problem solved. Once they're older, pop them off the wall and they can hang their coats up. But at least they're getting into that routine. If you try it on, hang it back up. Get it dirty, you wash it. You don't use it, you get rid of it. So I put more items on there. Another thing we were talking about before the presentation got going, I am such an advocate of flipping my hangers at the beginning of every year. Now, last year it was a debacle. I mean, we all, nothing about 2020 was normal. So maybe this summer, try this, but take all your hangers in your closet, turn them around and see what you actually wear. We tend to wear 20% of our clothes 80% of the time. So it's really eye-opening when you do this and you see, wow, I really don't wear much of my clothes. Or, maybe there's something that, I paid a lot of money for this, so I'm going to keep it. But, you start to realize what you actually use. And I always like the in and out rule. And so when I buy a new shirt, I get rid of an old shirt. And this really helps to balance that influx of stuff. And again, limit the number of each item that you keep with that container rule. Let that container be your limit. Let that drawer be your limit. Maybe try and implement just one or two of these small habit changes each month to avoid that overwhelm. And reanalyze things every so often. And I'm big in, reward yourself, incentivize yourself. You know what? If I can get in the habit of doing this practice, I'll buy myself a new shirt. Or, if I lose the weight, I'll get that new shirt. All right. And then lastly, I just added just some sources on here. I do, on my website, I do have a free ebook that summarizes just how to declutter. It's about decluttering your home prior to moving, but it's applicable to everyone. But I would love to know what questions that I can help you guys with. If there's something that you've been trying to organize and are struggling with, let me know, and I am happy to answer any and all of your questions. So don't be shy.
No one has any questions? No?
No?
Oh, wait, there's one. Can you see it, or do you need me to read it to you?
I cannot see it since my screen sharing is
on.
on.
Clear or mesh shoe organizers are good to put inside closet doors?
If it functions for you, sure. The problem is sometimes the shoes don't fit well into those, but if your shoes fit, go for it. Absolutely. Everybody's different, and some people prefer the bins that stack on one another. Some people just prefer little shelves, but honestly, if it works for you, use it.
Let's see. Oh, she says I mean to put things other than shoes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's great. Like, I've seen people organize Barbie dolls with them, toiletries. Yeah, absolutely. I think those are a great idea.
Okay, I was trying to make sure I didn't. What do you do with things you would consider artifacts?
Artifacts. That's something in terms of like donating those or displaying them.
Who is that? Let's see.
Sorry.
Karen. Are you still there, Karen? Do you, she's asking, do you want them?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Could you just elaborate?
Sure. Like, what if you just happen to have like your grandma's World War II ration books?
Mm-hmm. That's
You're not
really
gonna
neat.
display it. You're not gonna throw them away. You're not gonna take a picture of them and make a shutter flat. You know what I mean? What do you
Sure.
something like that, which I consider like an artifact?
Oh, absolutely. I would look into having it framed. I mean, those are neat, or even a great resource for that. I would consult somebody at the McKinley Museum. I would think that they would have some great ideas of the proper way to preserve those, because those are amazing artifacts, and I would definitely hold on to those.
Okay.
But they may have some ideas of how to keep them in pristine condition for you.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Let me see what else. I think there was one more question. Let me look. Help motivate teenage daughter to keep room organized and maintained. Any tips? Wow, that's a good question.
That is a great question. I would just set the standard. You have to, this is how I'm expecting you to keep it. It's hard. It's a battle, and you have to pick your battles. And it's not going to be perfect. It may, I mean, I fight with my 7-year-old over this every day, but I have a checklist for her, and it's like, hey, in order to be able to watch your show, I expect clothes to be picked up off the floor and stuffed animals put away. Just establishing that communication, and give yourself some grace, because their idea of clean and put away is completely different than our idea of clean and put away. But I found that with my kids, the checklists work well. That, okay, here's what needs to be done. We're in this together. Anyone else?
Someone's asking if you can show the last screen again so they can
Of
snap a picture.
course, absolutely. Let me pull that up. There you go.
So what do you do if no family members want your heirlooms?
That's when I would actually consult a museum. And, especially if it is an heirloom and it's an heirloom, I would contact a museum to see if they have any interest, because they're always looking for heirlooms. And then you could always check on eBay too, but I would say museum would definitely be the best way to go.
Suggestions, excuse me.
You're fine.
Suggestions on how to get a child to part with their papers and toys. That's a hard one.
It is. So what I do is I don't do it all at once when it comes to kids' toys, because I do go through and regularly get rid of some of my kids' things. I do it when they're not around. And that's debatable for some people. Once my kids see me getting rid of something, it becomes their favorite right away. So what I do is I will take 1 or 2 things and I'll put them in a holding area. So I'll sneak them out of the area. Well, the kids aren't around, and I'll put them in a temporary holding area where the kids can't see it. And then I'll give myself a month. If they have not asked about it within a month, that's when I assume it's safe to donate. Just because they get very emotionally attached to things, and you go to get rid of it and, oh my gosh, that's my favorite thing ever. So I found by doing that, it gives me a little sense of control, so that I'm not getting rid of something that they really do love.
What is your website?
It is www.simplifymebyat.com.
Yeah, it's right on this screen, the second thing on the screen. Somebody says, oops, I lost it. Somebody else commented. I'm not very good at this. Hold on.
Oh, you're doing great.
Pictures are organized by year in many albums. How do I downsize? Oh, see, okay, I'm going to listen.
That's hard. That's when I would recommend, if you have a family member you can reach out to, get together, have the kids over and be like, okay, I don't want to get rid of these, but would you like to keep some of them, because these are their memories too. So I would take that approach, but I think it's great that they're already organized by year.
How long do you keep, oh, this is interesting. How long do you keep statements from utility bills, etc.? 1 month, 3 months, a year?
That is a wonderful question. I would,
Yeah.
with that, I always tell people to consult their accountant or financial advisor, just because it depends on if you own a business, if you're just keeping them for personal use. There's so many different factors that go into it. So that's something you really need to consult your financial planner regarding. But there are some resources online that can give you a general guide for it, but I wouldn't throw them away just automatically, unless you can access them online. If you can access them online, sure, you can get rid of the paper, but always consult your financial advisor.
Do we have any more questions? I see that Julia put the website up there so everyone can see it if you couldn't see it on the screen.
Perfect.
Also, we're going to, Julia's been recording this and we're going to put it up on YouTube. So give us a little bit of time and you can look at if you want to watch again or if you want to look at some of the websites that she has up there, it will be available for you to see on YouTube.
Sure. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. You can email me right through the website. So, if there's something you didn't feel comfortable asking, just send me an email and I'm happy to answer your question.
Well, just to boost you a little bit, we're getting thank you. You were very interesting. I missed one. Excellent presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate
Everybody
that.
enjoy. I learned a lot. I thought it was great. Thank you so
Good.
much, all of you, for joining us. Someone sent a message about a book. I will contact you and you can let me know if you want to pick that up here or somewhere else. I'll get back to you about that tomorrow. Still more thank yous and
Thank you.
someone said she took notes and she's very excited to get started.
Oh, good. That's what I love. I love to hear that.
We appreciate all of you coming on, and thank you, Amy. And
Of course.
I'm going to say good night if there's no more questions.
Absolutely. Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy schedules.
Bye-bye.
Bye.